U.S. District Court of Guam, who will be co-moderating a panel discussion because, of course, June is Pride Month. Your Honor, good morning, and Hafa, always good to see you.
Hafa, good morning, Jason.
Hi. So this is it's a panel, and I said you're co-moderating it, but there are 7 distinguished members of our community who will be talking about issues very relative to Pride Month, like inclusivity, love wins, and everything. So can you kind of maybe contextualize and talk about how these members were selected, and maybe thematically some of the things they'll be discussing?
Yeah, so, first of all, let me just say who the members are. Of course, we wanted a special guest appearance from former Chief Justice Benjamin Cruz, BJ Cruz, who's currently our public auditor. I think he's one of the pivotal persons in this entire community in terms of people feel comfortable in coming out. In fact, I'll share a story about that when we have our panel discussion. I BJ about that, and he started laughing. But anyway, that's just like maybe a teaser. But and then we also have the Lieutenant Governor, the Honorable Joshua Tenorio, Federal Public Defender, Leilani Lujan, Indigenous human rights lawyer and a very good writer, Attorney Julian Uggin, Francis Glenn Lujan, who's a teacher and speech therapist, Trinity Naima Hufana, who's the reigning Miss Queen of the Pacific, and as I understand it, a trans, and Miss David Bente, a mother and professional athlete. So essentially these names were just suggested amongst the community and it was given to our committee. And so we wanted to kind of really explore the different members of the LGBTQ plus community. And so that's how they were selected. And another thing that we wanted to do is really try to see if these individuals will engage in an open and frank discussion to really educate the community about our community, about LGBTQ. I mean, some of us don't really know. I mean, sometimes if I say, I was just discussing that with one of my staff members, I may have said, this person is this person a trans or transgender or transsexual? And so sometimes I get corrected, like I'm saying it incorrectly. And I'm like, I didn't even know. So we're gonna have like really pointed questions, but nothing to embarrass anybody about. We want to see what their challenges have been through the years. What's really nice with our district court and the Guam Bar Association is we've been encouraged by the Administrative Office of the Federal Courts and our Ninth Circuit to celebrate Pride Month. And so that's why we are doing this. This will be the first time our court has done this. And so we're pretty excited to do this.
And you've got the very lovely Pride flag behind you over your left shoulder. Very, very nice.
Yes. Yeah, my staff put it up. They go, Judge, you have a flag. I said, okay. So they put it there.
No, it's also
it's not draped.
Yeah.
It's just draped on my chair, but it's not flying yet.
We hope that it will be at some time in this month. It's also worth noting, Your Honor, that these 7 members and the ones that you run down, I mean, they haven't been picked, on the principle of they belong to the LGBT community merely for that. I mean, each one of them is an outstanding member, very, very outspoken, very well read. Each one in their own respective rights is a diplomat and an ambassador for Guam in general and of LGBTQ, the experience, and having been, a lot of them have been through the struggles of self-identification, of having to maybe explain to some people, as you said, them discovering who they are, and then the coming out process. And I mean, I didn't want to when you said you've got that story about BJ. I remember I was in college, and I'm not sure if this is the story to which you were referring, but I remember when he was on the cover of the old Laddie magazine.
That's it. Yep.
Okay. That was a landmark moment for our island, for culture in Guam history. And I remember he was on the cover with his partner, and he was talking about his experience.
Exactly, and actually it is. That was the moment I remember, and I'll get into it more in depth at the panel when I speak to Chief Justice Cruz. But I remember Judge Weeks had the Laddie magazine, and she came into my chamber. She was, Fran, look, BJ's gone public. I'm like, what? So anyway, I'll talk about that later. But yeah, it was like you said, there are moments in history where they're unforgettable moments, you know. So yeah, and this is one of them.
I think also one of them was a decision by you, Judge Gatewood. I think it was in 2015 related to same-sex marriages.
Right, right. Yeah. So let me hold on a second. I'm going to pull up something. That's right. So
That was the year of Love Wins.
yeah, that was a decision I made, and that was a decision made. And let me see, what date was that? I actually filed that
Anniversary, June 5th.
June 8th, 2015. June 8th, 2015 is the day that I actually signed that decision, and that was a decision, essentially. Well, it was a decision where, as you probably will recall, on April 8th, 2015, two females, the same-sex couple, Kathleen and Loretta, applied for a marriage license from the Vital Statistics Office of our Department of Public Health and Social Services. And their application was rejected because they were informed by an employee that marriage licenses were not to be issued to same-sex couples under Guam law, which defined marriage as a legal union of persons of opposite sex. So that was yeah, you're right. So that was a decision that I later found that particular law was unconstitutional. I followed our precedent with the Ninth Circuit, and yeah, that's right. I didn't even think about the date, but you're right, Sabrina, reminding me that the date is coming up in a few days.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, so almost 6 years to the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Your Honor, I know like the official theme of this panel discussion is equality and inclusivity in the workplace in the community. So you said, now the court has been, you can't say you've been asked to embrace it because, this is such a big part of our culture, but to celebrate diversity and inclusivity. So how do you as a leader, disseminate this message down to the rest of your staff and, diversity is a positive thing, and we have to celebrate this. We have to foster this in order to be, the best performing organization we can.
Well, that's a good question. So how we actually foster it within the judicial branch, and I'm not just speaking about my little court here in the territory, but we have to send in reports on how diversified is our court. Like, do we have people of color? Are we hiring people that are representative of our community? Another issue is, do we have any persons that belong to the LGBTQ plus community? And the answer is yes, I do. I do have. You're going to see Tanya Munoz, one of my judicial inspectors. She works here. She's one of them. My chief probation and pretrial officer, Kim Walmsley, is also a member of that community. So we like you said, it's all about civility. It's all about respect, no matter where walks of life you come from. And it's not just a matter of something that we have to report in, but I think it's just something that we just do naturally on Guam. I think Guam, in and of itself, is very inclusive.
Mm-hmm. What struggles remain, Your Honor, as far as what you can see from your vantage point, as far as maybe the understanding of where these different communities and how we all fit in as one big family on this island?
Well, you know what? One of the things that kind of puzzled me, I mean, I know maybe because I'm older or I'm just not as in tune with it, but like, the pronouns like her, she, he,
mm-hmm.
all that, everybody's, but I didn't even, the first time I saw that was just recently, and I was like, why is that up there? I didn't understand that. Now I do. I'm starting to understand. So those are things that, sometimes you just don't know what's going on until you're kind of like thrown into it, immersed in it. I think that's one thing. Another thing, as I was leaving the house this morning, Jason, I was listening to the news, and, obviously I can't comment on my opinion, but there's this whole issue of whether trans athletes can actually be allowed to play in certain sports. Like, so if you're a trans person,
that's a big one. Yeah,
that's a big one. And so that is going to hit the courts. I mean, that's already hitting the courts. That I think that's something, that's a big question mark. What's going to happen there? And I think also you always hear the same debate. And obviously I want to learn from these panelists who are going to speak to us and educate us and sensitize us and, and make us more aware of what's going on in their lives and how we can be more accepting or more educated and more sensitive about members of our own family. I mean, I was telling one of my brothers the other day, I go, not many people know this, but like my dad had about 14 brothers and sisters, and one of them was gay from the very beginning. I mean, he told us, it was very open. And then the second one was actually married, was in the military, and then had children and so forth. And then he announced that he didn't want to be married any longer, and he wanted a gay relationship. And so that was kind of like, we were like, what? How did that happen? We weren't sure about that. Like, can that actually happen? And so there's always a debate, I think, and the debate still rages. And maybe I'm wrong, but at least I always hear it. Is it something you're born with, or is it something environmentally induced? You hear that. I'm sure you heard that too, Jason, as a news reporter.
And your perspective is so interesting, Your Honor, and I would say so merited, because you're, as the co-moderator of this forum, you're going to ask the right questions. And I would say, are you going in with a set list of questions that you want, or do you plan on just letting it happen organically and just say, like, let's start the dialogue and everything like that, and we'll just, we'll let...
No, you know what? To be honest with you, I think it's better to, because I'm not 100% on knowing everything about the LGBTQ plus community. I'm not. I mean, even as I handled that case in 2015, I remember speaking later to the author of the Ninth Circuit case, Judge Walker, who's really, really a good judge, and he wrote a great opinion. He had a long trial in that matter, and just even speaking to him, he was openly gay, and just getting his perspective was really very enlightening to me. But I will say that I would prefer that. I think it's better for me, and I think also it's fair to the panelists that we just don't do a shotgun approach and just ask any question. Or I think it's better that we ask questions, or frequently ask questions, or even questions that may be relevant to them. I was just on last month was Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, as you recall. Ninth Circuit asked me to be on a panel with a Japanese circuit judge, Judge Tashima, a Korean circuit judge, heritage, a Vietnamese, and a Korean, Japanese, Filipino. Oh yeah, Filipino, and then myself. Who I'm Chamorro Pohnpeian. My mom is part Pohnpeian Japanese, and my father's Chamorro. So anyway, I appreciated that they sent us questions, because every one of us have different experiences as a Pacific Islander, Asian American. I mean, what bias, what harassment we may have experienced in our life, or bullying and so forth. But it was just good to hear that, because you had like an older, our age difference was pretty sparse. I mean, it was pretty, not sparse, but pretty, it was far, one was like in the 80s, and probably the youngest one was like in his 30s. And I think that was really good for us to at least have the questions ahead of time. And if we felt uncomfortable in answering a question, we could tell the moderator ahead of time, and that was Judge McEwen. So I appreciated that. And I think that's why I wanted to afford me and actually Judge Berdallo, because Judge Berdallo was going to be the moderator. Actually, Judge Berdallo was supposed to be the moderator, but and I think he would have been a great moderator. But he's got a conference that he's going to be attending.
And maybe now to proxy for the community at large, since you will be sitting on there, as a lawyer and as from your bench, as long as I've known you in the many interviews I've done with you that I've been fortunate to do over the years and everything, civil liberties are always such a huge part of what you believe and what you practice and everything. So, maybe can you give a little bit of insight as far as your understanding, like right now, about where we need to be with civil liberties? You were talking about the gender identification, or the self-identification with pronouns and like things like that.
Well, I think with those things, I mean, we just have to be educated about it. I think what's really nice about the Ninth Circuit Jason, is the Ninth Circuit. Our circuit is a leader amongst all the circuits in the nation, and we have a diversity and workplace website. We have a very strong Chief Judge Thomas, and all even some of the prior chief judges before him that have really pushed for diversity and acceptance. And so these type of outreach events, which are encouraged by them and also by Washington, D.C., I think are very important. I don't know if you know this, but the very first openly gay judge, federal judge in the nation, she was nominated in 1994. And she was so she was nominated by President Clinton. She was a Black American judge. And what was interesting in her, so as I did the research on this, at her hearing, at her U.S. Senate hearing, because we all, as you know, we all have to go through a U.S. Senate hearing for nomination, for our confirmation. They never brought up that the fact that she was gay. It wasn't even discussed.
Yeah.
So I found it quite interesting.
Because how should that have any bearing on your ability to conduct your job? And you brought up like the thing about our transgender brothers and sisters and participation in athletics. And I mean, I grew up playing volleyball, and it's pretty much like a known fact that a substantial amount of the volleyball community belongs to the LGBT community. And at the end of the day, I mean, if you're a proper competitor, you just say, I don't care, and it doesn't matter to me, what you are, can you play? I guess I shouldn't say I don't care. It's like, it doesn't matter to me, and I'm not going to have some sort of discrimination against you based on what you, how you self-identify and everything like that. Are we going to work towards the same goal? And maybe that's a metaphor for society in general. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, you make a good point. So traditionally, I mean, like I play volleyball too, and traditionally you have the boys volleyball team and the girls volleyball team. You have the boys football team and the girls football team. And now, like through the years, then they have mixed volleyball teams. Yep. I guess with the NCAA, with Title IX and so forth, the question is, should some people think that there's an advantage that male, like if you're born a male, you might have an advantage of being a stronger athlete, a fiercer athlete. I mean, you just hear those things. That's not necessarily true. Mm-hmm. I mean, but there are many people that believe that. I don't know what I don't know if it's a science thing that we have to talk about. I don't know. The issue has not landed in my court, not yet. I hope it doesn't. I'm just joking.
I was going to say, there's a few people at public health who are really good at genetics who normally would probably be able to participate, but I think they're quite busy these days working on a couple other things.
Yeah. But anyway, so I think it's just a matter of, it's a matter of mindset, Jason.
Exactly.
I mean, we're traditionally used to boys and girls. It's like boys' restrooms and girls' restrooms. Do I want to so if you have somebody who's trans and they see themselves as like a female, should the trans person be allowed to go into a female bathroom? I mean, that, and so that particular issue has been raging as well, as you know, Jason. Mm-hmm. So I mean, those are things that, but if the legislature and the community are not able to resolve it, then where does it go? The last resort, the courts.
Exactly. Well, Your Honor, this is going to be the Pride Month Equality, and I love that play on words. The panel discussion on Tuesday, June 29th. So it's going to be later on this month, but we'll catch up with you later on if we can, Your Honor, to get some more information about that. 11 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon. You can register at guambar.com, but it is open to the public. So this is for the community at large, and we thank you for making that available to everybody on Guam.
Yeah, and another good thing is so that I can put in a plug for the Guam Bar Association with all the Guam Bar officers, Jackie Terlahi, Meenakshi Hamlani, and the others, Jay Ariola and the rest. The thing, it's open specifically to the Guam Bar so that they can get credits. So they'll get their continuing legal education credits. And so we're pretty excited. And just one last thing, the play on equality. So you saw the teacup?
Yep.
So let me just say, don't give me all the don't give me all the credit. It's my staff. It's Stacy McDonald Flores and Haley Gibbons.
It's very clever.
Yeah. Well, no. So the thing is, they're going to have tea. We're going to actually have tea that day. Guam Bar Association is going to I'll let them announce what they're going to do with the tea stuff. But we're actually going to have a tea reception after.
Very nice. Well, we can't wait to cover this for you, Your Honor. And we, as always, we thank you for your time, and we thank you for your participation and your leadership, and maybe to Sabrina's point with the whole, plum tomatoes and everything like that, your humility.
All right. Well, let me just say on the tomatoes, we're going to have the final winners, if you will, the final fours, or I'm not sure it's final fours. The championship winners will be announced on Saturday. So hopefully, I don't know if Sabrina's is in there. I hope so. Well, she can get an award. But thank you, Jason, and everyone and Sabrina for having us on. I appreciate the invitation.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good to see you as always.
All right. 9:59. A lot of takeaways this morning, Sabrina.
Oh, for the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a case. A hearing should be getting underway any minute now with the former police officer, former DOC officer, appearing in the District Court of Guam. It is a sealed case, so we're not sure if we're allowed to go inside. But the reason they sealed it is because